LeBron James told our Chris Broussard on Friday that he does not let his sons play football. When asked if the reasons for his decision involve the dangers related to playing the game, James replied, yes, only basketball, baseball, and soccer are allowed in my house. Our good friend Jerome Bettis, NFL analyst as well, joins us to weigh in on this topic. Twofold for you, because obviously you played football and you have a son, Bus Jr.
Yes.
What is your take on the future of football if you have such a powerful athlete like LeBron James saying, I will not allow my son to play the game?
It is troubling, and I say that because the NFL has been the beneficiary of having the best players in the world to play the sport. And so if you start losing some of the best players and they go to other sports, that's when all of a sudden soccer becomes a bigger sport. That's when baseball becomes a bigger sport in the African-American community. And basketball has already been a huge sport, but you're limited because you got to be tall. So it takes out a portion of a segment of the population. You can't just play basketball, so you have to play football. Well, if they go different places, then I think that spells trouble for the NFL long term. So I think that's why the corrective measures are in place right now. The NFL, they're trying to change the perception of the game in terms of the injuries, the concussions, all the things that they're doing. It's all to help that perception. I think that's what they're doing now.
Well, we have to ask the question,
yeah.
Does Bus Jr. play football
at age
7 years old?
Not yet. And my philosophy on that is I'll allow him to play contact football at about 10 years old. The difference here is I didn't play Little League football. I played, my first year playing contact football was in 9th grade. So I don't feel that you have to play, midget football with pads on at an early age. So 10 years old is when I would allow my son to play. My philosophy overall, though, is, I play football so he doesn't have to. And with that being said, if he wants to play, I allow him to play. And I'll be very involved as a coach, parent, because I want to make sure that he's learning correctly and that he's safe in every way possible. And, this is a dangerous sport. I get that. I understand it firsthand because I played it for 13 years in the NFL. So I understand the intrepidation, the concern. And I understand why LeBron James makes this comment because it is concerning as a parent.
All right.
Okay, but real quick before Stephen A. goes, wouldn't you consider yourself one of the luckier ones who played injury-wise, that you came out pretty unscathed?
Very fortunate,
yep.
Absolutely. I definitely admit that I am one of the few guys to have played 13 years in the NFL and to be a running back that was able to not have a major injury.
You didn't have one.
I've been very blessed and very fortunate. Would the same happen to my son? The odds are probably against it.
Sure.
So I'm concerned about it, but I would still allow him to play the game. I think there's so many benefits to playing football than the risk.
And you also believe that they're making corrective measures in the league.
Absolutely.
Correct.
So the game that our children will play will look nothing like the game that they're playing right now on Sundays. So understand that as well. The game is being watered down. I understand it. I'm an opponent of it, but I do understand it. But, in 10 years, 15 years, it's going to be a totally different NFL football game that's being played. It's going to be a lot safer. The old school NFL fans won't like it, but that's what it's going to be.
Wow.
Stephen A.
Well, first things first, Jerome Bettis may not have suffered any injuries. Why don't you ask the dudes that tried to tackle him? I bet you they had some injuries. That's one thing to point out. Number two, to get directly to the point of LeBron James, let's be clear about what LeBron James was saying here. LeBron James loves the game of football. I know that personally because he's talked to me about it. He loves the game of football, and he's certainly not trying to dissuade other kids out there from playing the sport. What he's alluding to is the age at which you involve yourself in it, particularly when you're a kid. As you get older, you're in a position to make your own decisions. And obviously, as you get older and you play the sport, the older you are, the more controlled, the sport is because of the rules, the stipulations that come along with the game itself, how the game is supposed to be played, what they're teaching, etc. And, you know, you're out there tackling with helmets on or whatever the case may be, you don't know what kind of potential damage you can inflict upon. And that's what I think LeBron James was speaking against more so than anything else. Then we have to take into account the socioeconomic aspects of it all. Let's understand that LeBron James is set for the rest of his life. His family is set for the rest of their life. His family for generations to come, in all likelihood, is set for the rest of their life. This is a dude that is on the verge of being a billionaire. So he's not coming, even though he came from a desolate environment from a monetary standpoint, his children do not and have not. And as a result, they don't need to play football. Even though we have a lot of kids out there playing football, high school, college, and beyond, if we're being real about it, a lot of them are desperate to get out of the situation from a socioeconomic perspective that they are in. And this is the way they discovered, because they're gifted at this and they also happen to love the game. But if they didn't have such desperate situations confronting them, who knows whether or not they would subject themselves to these kind of risks when they have such a life of affluence awaiting them. So LeBron is not going to discourage anybody from getting themselves involved in football, especially if it's discovered that it's a way out of the socioeconomic doldrums that they're experiencing. His children don't have to worry about that. But there are plenty of other children that grew up like LeBron James did that do have to concern themselves with it. And the last point is, when we talk about how the game has evolved, and, you know, the bottom line is the sport is still incredibly dangerous. It's very violent. Guys are bigger and stronger and faster than they ever were before, and it is an incredible concern for a parent to have. But the concerns are usually, and the risks are usually outweighed by the potential benefits from it all. And that's why you're still going to have people out there wanting to play the sport and be actively involved in it, because they realize the benefits that they can reap. Everybody ain't LeBron James kids. They don't have to worry about that.
Very good points, Stephen A. Smith. Now back to Jerome. My question, I can't speak for LeBron on this, and by the way, other athletes and ex-athletes have spoken out against their kids playing football. Even Brett Favre said, if I had a son, I wouldn't let him play football. But it's interesting. Let's do the hypothetical. LeBron's oldest, I believe, is 10 now. When he gets to the age you started, let's say 14, 15 years old, and he comes home one day and he says, Dad, everybody's playing football. I play in the backyard. I'm pretty good at it. You know, I really enjoy the contact, even playing in the backyard. Please? Please? Do you think he'd crack? Do you think he'd say, okay?
I think he would.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, his son's going to mom first.
Yeah.
Okay? So let's understand.
You're right.
He's going to mom first. He's going to get mom's blessing first.
Yeah, you're right.
So now he's coming with the big stick behind him, and he's saying, Dad, I want you to allow me to play. You know, and he's going to present his argument. And it's going to be very hard for LeBron to say no, because he understands the game. He loves the game. It's a game that he played.
Sure.
And so I believe he would.
He also fractured his wrist, I think, his
Yeah.
sophomore year in high school. So he knows you can get hurt.
He knows you can get hurt, and he understands the risk. But the potential benefits, like Stephen A. said, they're huge. And so you allow him to play it because, you know, that's what he wants to do. At that age, you understand now it is a different game. It's going to be a little bit safer than it is at 10, 11, 12 when the kids are just running around full speed, not really understanding how to tackle, how to hit people, and all of those things, how to keep your head up when you're tackling. So those are the issues that you would be concerned with. But at 14, 15, I think you kind of let them go at that point.
Yeah. Jerome Bettis with the family dynamics. He's going to go to mom first.
Got to go to mom first.
Get her blessing.
You got to sell it to mom. Because once you sell it to mom,